The all-new service from Insane Throttle Motorcycle Madhouse Radio. 24/7 and nothing but the best in 80s till today rock and metal, baby. And here's an added bonus. You can now listen to Motorcycle Madhouse Morning Show with Hollywood and Chinatown live on the air. Go to motorcyclemadhouse.com and bookmark the radio station and get down with the king of biker radio. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Hollywood and Marco show, baby. It's Monday night. Boy, we got a show for you tonight. We have special guest AJ. He is the brother of Omen, who fell. He was a Bandido at the Red River shooting. Sad state of affairs. Marco, what's up, man? We got Black Dragon in the house. But first, I want to bring in our newest member of the team just to say hi and stuff like that. Our new producer, Mike Ball, is right here, man. Say hi, Mike.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys for having me on the show, man.
Rock on. So today we're going to be talking about the wrap up, how we covered the news, all that good stuff during this tragic event. But Marco, go ahead and start out, do your little monologue here, and we'll be right back, me and Black Dragon.
Well, tonight, obviously, we're going to be talking to people that were at the Red River run, and everyone knows by now what happened. Obviously, we've heard shady side of the story, and hopefully tonight we'll get more insight on what's going on with AJ, which is Omen's brother here. But really, there's a couple of parts to what's going on here. And number one I wanted to address tonight was the fact that, obviously, when something like this happens, a story like this happens, going live right away, obviously a lot of people have ideas and comments on whether or not you should try to figure out what's going on. I mean, it's nothing new. CNN, NBC, Fox, they all do it when something breaks. They get out and they get the story. And just to hear the stories of the families like AJ and like a lot of the other people that can't get any news anywhere, it was refreshing, and it was actually heartwarming to hear that what we do when we turn these cameras on and we go live is seen by people that need to have it seen. And so to me, that was an amazing thing that I learned in going live when this thing happened. And I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the two Bandidos actually that are now still in jail, in custody, because there's, this is the agenda. I released a TikTok today saying there's a new agenda that the mainstream media is pushing. That agenda is that every single motorcycle club, no whether you're a riding club or you're a 99%er or a 1%er, outlaw motorcycle club, it does not matter. If you have a patch on, they are telling everybody you are in a gang. Make no mistake, they've been doing it for a while, but there is a coordinated effort from the mainstream media to let everybody know if you are in a motorcycle club, they are going to refer to you as a gang so that they can start pushing legislation that's going to be affecting all of us. I mean, the Waterdogs aren't even an MC or an RC, and yet you hear them referred to as a gang in every single major news stories. Now, what does that look like? Well, when the government or when the police identify you as a gang, it makes it easier to do a lot of things. You have a lot of things that protect you as a citizen of the United States, that when you're labeled as a gang, it relaxes all of those things. And for one, it's happening to these two Bandidos right now that are actually in court. They're being held because they're on unrelated charges. One of them had a gun in the liquor store. He had a concealed carry license, but he was injured and they were taken to jail. And the other one had some cocaine allegedly, and he's being held. They're both being held where they normally would have been just released. Anybody else in the world, they would have been released on their own recognizance to show up to court. But they're both being held. And why is that? Well, there's a chance that they're making them an example. And they are charging, I think, whatever you have to come up with bail. If your bail's $100,000, you got to pay a bail bondsman, $10,000. You don't get that money back. So it leaves the lesser people with the less money in jail longer. It's really a bad thing. And there's a few different legislations they're putting out to stop this from happening. But this is just another thing that they can do when they think that you're being a menace to society or that you're labeled as part of a gang. It's terrible that these two are sitting in jail, not able to get out until their court date. Any other person in the world would have been out already. So these are just some of the things that the mainstream media is pushing, and these officers and pushing to make it a lot harder on all of us that ride motorcycles. You don't even have to be in a club. If you're riding motorcycles at this point, you're going to be targeted, and your freedoms are dwindling faster than you can even say what's going on here in America. So I just wanted everybody to realize what's going on, the game the mainstream media is playing, and how it's affecting all of us, including these two tonight who are sitting in jail still, even though they have unrelated charges to what happened in Red River. So that's all I have for tonight.
Rock on, Mark. I appreciate it. Today, you know what? I'm going to cover the other angle. You're going to see a lot different show today, a lot more organized and stuff like that. Where you got BD on, who's going to be covering stuff with us because he was one of the major players in the news coverage. And the one thing that I think really upset me, and I'm a big supporter of them, is NCOC. Now, they're the media arm of NCOM, or separate organization, one of the two, but they were supposed to be there to be the voice of the clubs going on out there. And what I saw was them absent from this whole news reporting cycle. And it's disappointing because the Bandidos were getting slaughtered in the media over this event. And a lot of people, like Marco said, it was live, so you don't really have all the information, but you had to dig to get the information and to get it out to you. And one of the biggest things that we saw was everybody bashing on the clubs. Well, really, they don't know how it works. It comes from independents, it comes from supporters. And yeah, they shouldn't have handled business out in the public. It shouldn't have been done. But you have to see what happened here. You had a guy playing both sides of the aisle. This wasn't just a wedding picture. It goes a lot deeper than a wedding picture. And I think BD will explain some of that stuff because he kind of has that break in. But they are the ones that shot first, the Waterdogs. It was not the Bandidos. It started off as a fist fight, and we all go out there and say, well, you shouldn't be pulling guns. Well, it wasn't the Bandidos that did it. And we lost, we got our special guest on tonight, AJ, that's going to talk about his brother that was lost in that shooting. There's a very human element to this story. But again, I have to say, I can't believe NCOC wasn't out there. They're always welcome to come on any of our shows to give a statement, any of that type of stuff. And I think it's time for clubs to get public relations officers to try to fight some of this stuff in the media, especially when you have to be targeting the jurors and those that are going to be electing the people to be representatives. But with that said, let's go on and bring in our guests. Bring everybody in there. Black Dragon's in the house, man. What's up, BD?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me tonight. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. What's some of your thoughts? And we're going to bring AJ here in a minute so he to tell his brothers, talk about him and the loss that the family's having. What do you think of everything, BD?
This is a really sad situation all the way around. Nobody wins in a situation like this. When a lot of times when I talk about protocol on the show, I get a lot of people that get mad at me, just streaming mad. You're pushing the 1%er agenda, and we're all supposed to bow down and all this kind of stuff. And all those folks that are talking that stuff, I always like to say, we like to talk about the motorcycle club world as it is. And the motorcycle club world as it is isn't about your First Amendment right or whatever. What it's about is what is real and what is really happening on the ground. And there are certain things that if you do, they're going to bring other kinds of repercussions. And if you can't stand that, then you don't need to do that. And that's what it comes down to. How does this thing work? What are the rules behind it? Who's enforcing those rules? And where are you on that side? And can you hold up the things that it is that you're doing? So for some folks, it can be very easy, and some folks it can be very difficult. But it's going to play out like it plays out. It is what it is, regardless of what you think. And guys get on the phone with me telling me all this kind of stuff, and it's all about somebody else dying. It's all about somebody throwing themselves down on the pit of being some kind of great hero or martyr or something. And those folks having those conversations, you never see them out in the street doing anything. I think this is going to be a very tough watershed moment for bikers all across the United States of America. I think that you might see a whole lot of Australian-like kind of rules coming out because the news media, because clubs don't talk, especially big clubs, they don't talk. They don't have public relations officers. They don't have public communication strategies. Like every major business has people whose job it is to get out there and put the spin on it. But the motorcycle clubs just feel like, yeah, if we don't say anything at all, we can be like ostriches and put our heads in the sand. But you got to have people out there pushing the appropriate narrative, because if not, they get to run. That there's the guy that was on television, the police officer. He said the word gang 50 times in 2 minutes, and that's what the voters hear. That's what the public hears. That's what the jury pool hears. And if you're not fighting that you don't have you don't have a dog in the hunt. It's what everyone else says. It's not, being silent doesn't do that. So I think clubs need to get, like you said, savvy with how to fight in this media environment that is absolutely very real and against them. We are seeing places shut down shows. We're seeing festival after festival being shut down, and bikers in patches, and they don't distinguish. Oh, that's a 1%er patch. You guys can't come here. It's bikers with patches on their backs, from riding clubs to Christian clubs to every other kind of club. No cuts allowed. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that, and it's really kind of tragic. But that's where we are.
Rock on, man. Good stuff right there. Let's bring in AJ now. Again, he is the brother of Omen. He was one of the Bandidos killed. And we want to put a human face onto this tragedy. We want to hear what the family has to say and what they're going through. Go ahead, Marco. You started out.
Well, AJ, thanks for being here, man. I was just going to say, I can't imagine, obviously, what you're going through, what your family's going through. I've been, obviously, in the MC world a long time. I've lost some brothers and seen some of this stuff happen. But, I mean, can you kind of just give us a rundown of, obviously, you get the news, and just kind of walk us through how you found out and what happened and where you guys are at now. Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you guys for having me on. I actually want to start by saying that the cops don't really give you a lot of news when they're doing an investigation and when they want to label it like a gang on gang crime. So I have to say 90% of my information has been coming from you three gentlemen. So that's really been a comfort for our family. I didn't know a shooting had happened in Red River until around midnight, right after it had happened. And I was about to go to bed, and I got on my phone and I got on Twitter, and I saw that this shooting had happened. And I knew that Damien went to festivals or went to rallies, but I didn't really know if he went to that one. So I went and asked my mom, and she said, I don't know, but I think he was there because they always go to Red River. So I text him, he doesn't answer his phone. I call him, it goes right to voicemail. And I don't know why I started panicking, because like I've seen incidents in the news happen before, and I was like never worried about it, But for whatever reason, I could the little green circle on his Facebook Messenger wasn't there. And that's like what kind of panicked me. So I was like tweeting about it. I was like, I think my brother was there, and I don't know. Maybe I should call the hospitals. And then it must have been about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. I told myself, okay, I'm just like freaking myself out. I'm just doom scrolling. If anything bad happened, we would know about it. Like, you're just freaking yourself out. Go to bed. And so about 5 o'clock, I went to bed. And about 7 o'clock, I heard our dog start barking. I'm half asleep, and all of a sudden, I live in a house. It's me. I live in like a little a mother-in-law's quarters in the back of the house, and it's my mom and my special needs brother. He has Down syndrome. They live in the front of the house. And I just heard her scream. I have never heard her scream like that in my life. And I knew as soon as I heard that, I knew. I jumped out of bed and I went, and there was two New Mexico State police officers at the door. And me and my mom were outside, and she's just crying, man. She's just totally lost it. Our neighbors even heard her, and they all came over. It was, you can see I'm still like, I'm like scarred by it. You know what I mean? So I talked to these police officers. They tell me that this press conference is going to happen. I need to call the police captain before it happens. And he writes down the phone number and he gives it to me. So I'm consoling my mom. We get back in the house. I was literally standing outside talking to my boxer, so I had to get dressed. And I called the number that he gave me, but it wasn't, he had written down the wrong phone number, and it was the phone number for, I don't know the guy's name, but he's the other person who died who was in the Waterdogs. It was his mom. It was her phone number. And I didn't know that when I called her. I thought it was the captain. I'm like panicked, so I'm kind of talking really fast. And she said, "Who is your brother?" And I said, his name is Damien." And she said, "What club is he with?" And I paused because I thought, well, that's like weird. Why would a captain ask me that? So I said, "I think he was with the Bandidos." And she just like screamed. She lost it. She starts just hurling obscenities. And she ends the call. She said, I hope your brother burns in hell for the rest of his life." And she hung up the phone. Now, I understand the emotion because we were literally going through the exact same thing. So I don't like blame her at all for that. I'm pissed off at the state police for allowing that to happen because they knew that it happened. Because I called the lady, and then I called the like toll-free number on the card, and I was like, "Hey, they gave me the wrong number." And while I was talking to that lady on the phone, the state trooper came back to our door and had given me the correct, he'd like switched out my business card. "Sorry, this is the right number." I was like, yeah, I fucking know at this point. Excuse my language. I don't know if I can curse, but I'm like, yeah, like, thank you for that. I already know that. So I called the captain or whoever I talked with. I don't even know. They gave us very little information. They gave us nothing. There was an altercation. 8 people had been hurt. 3 people had died. Damien had died on his way to the hospital. And that was all that we heard. We had to cling to the news to find out what was happening. Me and my mom sat in front of the TV for 70 hours just watching the news. And to the point that you made, BD, about them calling, saying gang or gang members or gangbangers over and over. It didn't just end with that press conference, because that was the news clip that all of the local news stations used as they're like, coming up at 10, we talk about gang on gang crime. And so if we weren't watching the news, we were watching advertisements for the news. And by the end of that first day, there doesn't matter what had happened, their fate has now been sealed. That's all anybody will see them as. It doesn't matter what the story is. It doesn't matter if they have kids or families. Now they're just another gangbanger committing gang on gang crime, and really, who cares? But we
Well,
care.
let me ask you
But we
this,
care.
AJ. Tell us about your brother. Tell us about the family that he left behind, his work, because he isn't a gangbanger, and we need to get that out.
I tell you, he leaves behind a hole that I know will never get filled. He's married. I don't want to speak too much on his wife, but he's married. They've been married, I believe, for 5 or 6 years. They have a blended family of 9 children. The youngest child I think is like 4 or 5. The oldest is right about my age, maybe just a little bit younger. She could be in her 30s. He had 2 grandchildren. He meet his mom. It's me. I'm the youngest son. Our brother Ricky is the middle child. He has Down syndrome. He just turned 40 years old. And there was Damien. We just lost our grandma. We literally just lost our grandma on the last day of February too. I mean, the world's kind of kicking us in the nuts right now. We lost our grandma. My half brother Brandon died just a little over a month and a half ago. So it's just kind of been tragedy after tragedy. But I mean, Damien was a guy. I didn't know him as Omen, and I didn't know the bicycle, or excuse me, the motorcycle aspect to his life, other than I knew he loved riding and I knew that he loved his brothers. That's those were the things in his life. But I mean, he lived in Socorro, and he volunteered at the local vet. I swear to God, he was down there maybe once or twice a week washing dogs. He did like toy drives for Christmas time. You know, they always do like the Twinkle Light parades and the school drive, the backpack school drives for kids who need school supplies. I mean, there's just a lot of things that he did just for the town of Socorro, and I don't know if a lot of those people even knew that that was him, or that was him behind the scenes. And I think they're really going to be lost. Me and Damien, before Damien moved down there and before he got married, he lived here in Albuquerque, and he worked primarily in food service. He was a bar manager at several well-known bars here in Albuquerque. He actually hired me at a couple of the different establishments, just because we worked really well together. I don't know what it was, but you put us in a bar scene and we worked really, really well together. We ran the VIP tent at the the balloon fiesta in 2012. It was me, him, and a friend of his. And that's just the kind of person he was. He just loved his kids. He loved his family. He loved his community. He loved our brother Ricky. I said he has Down syndrome. And Ricky's been really, really, I mean, he's been inconsolable. And that's been kind of my hardest thing to deal with is how to help Ricky get through this. What he's having a hard time with is every single morning he would video call Damien every single morning, always between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. And Damien would answer, and they would talk every single morning. And this has gone on for 10 years since Ricky got his iPad. Longer than that. I think he got his first iPad in 2010. This has been going on forever, every single day. Doesn't matter where he was, what he was doing. And in those first couple of days, Ricky was having a real hard time grasping what had happened. And I could hear him in his room FaceTiming. I could hear the phone ringing. And he would let it ring, and he'd let it ring, and he'd let it ring, and then he'd turn it off. And then he'd just start crying, man. He'd just start sobbing. And that's been like some of the hardest things that I've had to deal with. So trying to figure out how to console my family while listening to the news talk about what a shitty person he was when I know him not to be. It's just been a lot. It's just been a lot.
Black Dragon.
I'm trying to keep it together because I've lived this in my own personal club where we've had shootings, and the police all over the world, Hong Kong, and all the news agency biker gang leader assassinated on doorstep, and there's a pain to it when you know somebody and you know what kind of person they are.
Yeah.
And I first of all, I just want to tell you, AJ, I am so sorry for your loss of your brother, of your blood brother. And I can just let me tell you, he died with his brothers. And for people in motorcycle clubs, that's everything. that is everything. He died next to his brothers when his brothers needed him most, and he will be remembered by his brothers, his club brothers. He will be remembered as a hero and a brother. And no matter what you hear on these shows and televisions and what have you, he was loved by his brothers. And I don't even have to have been there to know that. So you take heart and listen to the stories being told by his brothers, by his club brothers that were with him, because he loved them. We none of us do this, and we don't love our clubs. My entire adult life, I've been attached to my club. It's been up and it's been down, but I love them, and I know his brothers loved him just like you do. Um, and 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 so I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry for that.
Thank you for
loss.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, AJ, obviously it's heartbreaking. I'm really glad you got to put a face on to your brother. And I know when I was doing our thing with Rick from Vegas Profile Stories, he talked about your brother with Down syndrome, and I mean, you know, I mean that is obviously that is a hard situation for your family, right? And then to have him to try to explain to him what's going on, also go through your grieving process. It is heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and I just really pray for you, man. And I know it's difficult and tough, and I know that's probably what's tearing you up, is knowing that your brother probably still doesn't really grasp exactly what's going on. But Black Dragons, you know, if it's any condolences, I mean, he died with his brothers. He died doing what he loved. He died with guys that all love him very much, and so at least he had that in his passing, but does not make it easier. And I know your grieving process is just starting. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate you putting your face on there, because this is so much better than some gangbanger died. Because this guy had a life. He was a dad. He was a husband. He was a brother. He loved animals. I mean, this is a human being, man. And I think the more people that see this, maybe that we can get somebody to think 2 seconds before something happens.
And I'm happy to talk about him. If anybody, I mean, I'm on social media. You can find me. I'm not a hidden person. I'm happy to talk about him. I know he was not a perfect man. None of us are, but he was my brother, and I loved him with all of my heart. And he's going to leave a really big, he's going to leave a big hole in this family for a very long time.
Let me ask you this. Is there a GoFundMe or something we should be talking about?
There is a fundraiser somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't have much of that information. I'm not 100% sure why, but his wife is holding us away. She's really rejecting. She actually said that we couldn't go to the funeral. It's kind of an argument that's going on. I don't understand it. I'm trying to resolve it, but there's she is claiming, and I don't want to like talk bad on her because I know she's grieving and I know her heart is broken, but she is saying that he had specifically told her that whenever he had his funeral, that specifically me and my mother were not allowed to attend. And I mean, I don't want to speak bad, but I don't believe that's something Damien would have said. I just don't, you know. So we've been talking, and we're trying to resolve it. But because of that, she's really holding a lot of information close. So there is a GoFundMe, or it's not a GoFundMe, but it is a fundraiser. It's somewhere on Facebook. Maybe I'll try and find it and see if I can forward it to one of you guys, and then you can pass it on. But yeah, really, I don't have much on top of everything else that we're trying to deal with. We're also kind of trying to like be able to say our goodbyes, and that's a little bit difficult at the moment. So we're just fighting many fires.
How you been dealing with the misinformation, AJ? There's a lot of it out there.
So I at the very beginning, I clung to every single thing that I heard. And I realized I was like starting to get very overwhelmed. So I took I watched a couple of YouTube videos of people who are talking about it. And I reached out to those creators, and I just asked them, like, where'd you get your information? How accurate would you say your information was? And that's how I started my like barometer. Unfortunately, I learned right away that a lot of that information could be like skewed or biased or whatever. So what I've done is I basically consumed all the media that I can about it. Like any new videos that come up, I watch every single day. And I kind of decipher out what I believe is the most likely and most probable story, because I realize everybody, whether they know him or not, or whether they're familiar with the situation or not, they're kind of gonna even not even intentionally, but they're gonna sort of skew it for their way. So I figure if I watch everything and I just take what I believe is the most probable answer, and that's what I run with. And that may not be correct, because again, I don't know. It would be great if New Mexico State Police would reach out to us to like keep us in the loop on what's going on. But because they don't, that's sort of how I have to judge what I believe is true. And I just, if it's not right, it's not right, and we will learn as the investigation goes underway.
Well, you can guarantee that we'll be following it through the court. Somebody said in the chat room that the two Bandidos did get released today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we gotta.
That's great.
We gotta verify that one. But I'm glad that you came on, AJ, and you really put a face to Omen, one of the Bandidos that were killed in this shooting, because people need to know what the cops were saying about the gangbanger this, gangbanger that. That's really not the case. He had 9 children, was also real close to his brother that had Down syndrome, and people need to know that.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
I want to.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to bring to light a comment that Dirty Dingus said, and I think it might be important for you to hear it. In Valhalla, there are no colors. We are all 1%ers. Your brother died a warrior's death. I'm not a Bandido, but I am a 1%er, and I give utmost respect to your brother for dying a 1%er life. Now, that might be hard for you to understand if you don't know much about that lifestyle. And for those who haven't walked it, you will never understand it. I only am familiar with it from a distant view. But this is the life they live. And when they come into that lifestyle, they are only made 2 promises. One is that you may have an early death, and one is that you may have a forever jail cell. And everything you do is for this brotherhood. And so for them and their understanding and the way they live life, he died a warrior's death, and his brothers would be proud of him for that. So you
absolutely, and I don't at all fault him. I know I may not have known much about the club, and I may not have known much about what they do, but I know that it was his everything. I mean, if there's nothing else I knew about Damien, it's that he loved every single one of his kids, and he loved every single one of his brothers. That's who Damien was. So I didn't necessarily know that side of him, but I know how passionate he was for that side of him. And I scroll through media, I doom scroll, I try and read up, and I see the love that people I've never heard of in my life are like saying these great things on different posts, and on TikTok there's like people memorializing him in comments. And so I didn't know that side of him, but I know that other people did, and that he loved that community. And so I know that he did go down, no matter the situation. I know that he did go down with a group of people that he loved. So that's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, AJ, and letting us know. Hopefully your family can make it through this. This is always hard to lose a loved one, especially this way. And you're always welcome to come back on the show, give us updates and stuff. We'll be right there with you through this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on the show. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem, buddy. What we're going to do now is take a commercial break. Then we're going to bring in Lou Steele. Introducing the all-new service from Insane Throttle Motorcycle Madhouse Radio. 24/7 and nothing but the best in 80s till today rock and metal, baby. And here's an added bonus. You can now listen to Motorcycle Madhouse Morning Show with Hollywood and Chinatown live on the air. Go to motorcyclemadhouse.com and bookmark the radio station and get down with the king of biker radio. Rock on. Man, what's up? We're going to be bringing in Lou Steele as soon as he gets back. And there we are, Mike. Go ahead. Lou, how you doing, buddy? And we're going to be talking about Christian clubs, if I'm correct, and your experience in that.
And I want to thank you guys for having me on. And I just wanted to tell everybody about our club. That's you want me to go on, or do you have more of an intro?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to let everybody know who we are, what we're about, and why we're out there, how we do what we do. I know you're talking all the time with high power people, a lot of people in the 1%er world or connected in that world. And I started out 25 years ago, and I had ridden motorcycles throughout my high school time in Rome, Italy. My dad was in the military, and I graduated from high school over there. Started kindergarten in Munich, Germany, actually. And I had an interesting life, but different from the 1%er lifestyle. It's just kind of crazy where when you kind of seek your meaning in life, what's really important out there, a lot of times you're brought to a position of faith. What do you believe in, and what's missing in your life? And I had something missing in my life, and I didn't know that I was lacking on the spiritual side of things.
Now, I got a question for you, because I did put it out there that this particular club looked like it was hiding behind a cross, and you do have a lot of Christian clubs out there that do hide behind a cross, where they want to wear the 3-piece patch and stuff, and they claim to be Christian clubs, but it really isn't that case. Have you seen that, or what's your thoughts?
I've seen it a lot. And that's one of the reasons we have done what we have done with the Last Disciples MC. I felt that there was a lot of damage control needed in the world of the Christian bikers that are out there. In my own talking with a lot of the 1%ers, they've said, you guys have hurt yourself. You got guys out there that are not walking what they're talking, and seem like a bunch of phony. Maybe some seem like wannabes. Maybe some of them are walking around puffed up like they just got out of gangland. We wanted to make a difference. We wanted to, the Bible says we're supposed to let our light shine before men. So it's like, what kind of light? It's like, well, our spiritual side, loving one another, having a brotherhood that's a real brotherhood. I know a lot of people that are in the clubs have ended up being disappointed at some point where their brothers have left them or abandoned them or ratted on them or all the above. And so we wanted to make a difference, and we wanted to be who we say we are and do what we say we do.
So do you have a lot of problem with clubs that, let's just be honest, hide behind the cross and cause the real Christian clubs, before I go to Marco, a lot of problems?
Did I personally have problems with the Christian clubs that were like that? Is that what you're saying?
No, do you know of a lot that happens with, and how does that make Christian clubs feel when they're hiding behind the cross where they really want to be a diamond or something like that?
We hate it. We hate it because it just brings negativity onto the ministry work that we're trying to do. We come in peace. Our club is a clean and sober club. Go ahead.
So, Lou, I'm sorry. So let's because I didn't really get a great intro. So just tell me what is the name of your club? What is the nature of it? Where are where are you located? Do a brief introduction of yourself and your club so people know, because obviously there you said Lost Disciples, and there's a lot of different ones. Is that the name of the club?
No, it's Last.
Last.
Yeah, we're not lost. We've been found.
That's good.
Yeah, and people say, why the last disciple? I said, well, I might be the last disciple to share with you the message of salvation before you're called to judgment. And they go, oh, that's heavy.
And where are you guys located, Lou?
We started in California on the Central Coast, San Luis Obispo area, Paso Robles area. Beautiful country, agricultural country. A lot of volcanic peaks and whatnot. It's just gorgeous here. That's where we started. And the guys that started with me, they just wanted to support the local clubs that are just like in our county. And I'm going, why put God in a box? It's like he's for everybody. And it's like we should go wherever the Lord opens the doors for us. So that's kind of the approach that I took. And then I started reaching out to other clubs. It's like, where are we going to start with this? And this was, I started 25 years ago, but this club, I co-founded this club in December of 2005 is when we signed our bylaws and started. And we had to find a way to make this happen. And it's like, even back then, I understood you just don't throw on a patch and go out there, jump on your hog and roll. It's like, you're going to have some serious problems. So we needed to find our dominant. And we actually, it's kind of funny, but we didn't have a dominant in our county. We're a fairly large county. But I talked to everybody and everybody says, well, red and white claims this, and we don't know, we just don't know. So it was like, we have to do it right. We have to follow protocol, the rules of respect. Otherwise, we're just going out there and we're trampling the crops that we're coming to harvest, so to speak. It's like we can't force our way into anybody's area, and you get a bad rap on you, and you're basically screwed. You're not going to be able to fly around and do anything. So it's like, what do you really want? Well, we really want to serve God and help our fellow man. We do. We support wherever we're located. And we're small. We're a small club. And
so this incident in Red River,
yeah,
the Waterdogs claimed to be a Christian club. And, we've had, we showed a video, dude over there smoking out of a pipe and all that type of stuff. You have to be having a lot of problems with these people that are saying they're Christian clubs. And like you said, you even went to a dominant to get, to do it the right way, but you can't play both sides at the same time.
Absolutely.
But, go ahead, Black Dragon. You have a question for Lou before the next segment?
Well, I just got a call, and folks are watching, folks are upset. And, one of the things that I just got a call from that area, and he was saying that that this club that we're interviewing right now had nothing to do with what was going on in that area. And that's not why Hollywood brought him on the show. Hollywood brought him on the show because there was this reference to it like being a Christian club, the Waterdogs. When he did that interview, I think the guy said the water meant Christ, had something to do with Christ, and the dogs were dirty dogs trying to get to the clean water. And so Hollywood's angle with bringing on the Christian club was to say, what kinds of things are Christian clubs required to do? And Hollywood, I believe your angle was a lot of clubs that claim to be Christian clubs aren't really living that lifestyle. So I don't think you have Lou on to talk about what was going on in Red River, but rather to talk about what it is to be a Christian club and what it is to, what are some of the negatives and what are some of the things that you've seen from clubs that claim to be Christian clubs. So
Exactly.
I think that better clarifies for folks why Lou Steele is on. Lou, are you the president of your club?
I've been the president from day one, and I just recently, about a year ago, stepped into a position of national nomad and recommended a person for the international P position. Just due to my age, that I'm getting old, and I want to set it up for the next generation coming aboard in our club to carry on the work and the vision. And so I'm a national board member still. I still have a vote on the national board. We don't have a one shot caller in the club that calls all the shots. We have a national board, and we have 5 equal votes on that board, so we can do our thing and do it the way everybody agrees upon. We're all want to be like-minded, and it's like it's amazing when you do it right. We don't argue. We don't argue amongst ourselves of where we're going, what we're doing, what state we're trying to get set up in, or whatever. We're all in agreement. Now, I don't want to get off base with what you're trying to get to with your questions here. So hit me up again with how I can clarify for you.
Well, Lou, the question I have for you is being a Christian club, obviously, and being in the atmosphere of I'm not even sure you guys have a 3-piece patch, but have you had run-ins with other clubs? Have people come at you and given you grief for flying your colors, and how has that been portrayed when
Yeah, I've had my share of it, and actually I wrote a book about what I've done, or what my life has been like over the last 25 years, and how I started out with I'll call them lightweight, but I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. There's different kinds of ministries, but the Christian Motorcyclists Association, it's like when I first got saved, I started wondering if there's any such thing as motorcycle ministry. I didn't know. And then I found CMA, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to hook up with these guys, and I give it a year and see what happens. And I put my time into prison ministry with them, and got into Corcoran, in the lifer yard and all that, and we saw some amazing things happen in there. But the ministry, I just felt like I was called to something more. I can't say they're not serious. I don't want to insult anybody here at all, not in the least. They're a great bunch of people. There's probably a couple 100,000 of them in the world. But I just, I felt like I needed something harder, something more challenging. And so I hooked up with another group. And it turned out that group, where their mother chapter was, down in Southern California. And I don't want to even mention the name of that club. Again, I won't bash anybody or whatever. They treated us right, but we saw some things that just, things maybe with weed, alcohol, cocaine, people coming out of that ministry telling us things that they had endured in that and whatnot. And so it was like, I don't want to be associated with anything like that, because it's like, I want to be about the truth and doing the truth and helping people and loving them loving them where they're at. And so we collected 26 patches from, I was the president at that time of Mid-Cal, and I sent them in with a thank you note. Did it right, did it respectfully. And then it was like, well, what do we do now? And it's like, well, the guy said, well, we'll just go, everybody just do your own thing. And I went, that's probably what the devil would like us, just to scatter to the wind. But, don't we have a purpose and a common goal? So
Right.
we took 6 months and really, I said, no, we continue meeting. I said, forget the patch. We keep the brothers together and we keep meeting. And we met for 6 months and we came up with a patch design. And my thoughts were, guys, I don't know what you'll think about this, but my thoughts were, if you want to be taken seriously, you gotta look serious. And I thought, if God is really behind us in what we're trying to do in this mission field, so to speak, God will open the doors and He will help us to do it, and it'll happen, because it was like mission impossible in some ways, because our patch, I don't know if you've seen our patch or not, but it's got a diamond. It's black and white. How's that going to go over with the Black and White California Club? It's like, how do you do that? It's like, if God wants it, God will open the doors. And so we were talking earlier about the dominant. We had to go see the dominant, and so it took us into Ventura, and had a big sit down there, lasted about an hour. And yeah, is somebody questioning?
Yeah, my producer's going crazy here. We're ran out of time with you, Lou, but we do expect appreciate you coming on, talking about Christian clubs, what you feel about those that hide behind the cross, just to wear a patch or something. But we really appreciate you having you on. Our next segment is going to be about the news coverage, this whole thing that we all did and stuff. But thanks, Lou, for coming on, buddy. Okay, great guest today. And like you said, BD, I was bringing him on to explain what a Christian club is and what it isn't. But go ahead, Mark.
Well, obviously, we heard a lot with because the jump off point for that was the picture that Shady took with another club that was in New Mexico that had that, and we accidentally we put a picture up that we thought was the picture that kicked it off. Got a lot of heat for that one, which was a mistake. But it is good to know that that these clubs are out there, and I saw some comments in there with some people actually that have recently given their life to God and done that. And if that's your path, that's fantastic. And there's a lot of good for these clubs. I just really wonder, when you roll up on some guys and you have you're black and white, you got a diamond. Sure, there's going to be I just know this, I just know it out here. So it is wondering if they ever get leaned on, or if they have to do whatever, because they are trying to do their own thing and have their ministry, and I think it's a great thing. So.
Rock on, man. Now let's talk about the news coverage. I know, Marco, as soon as it started happening, you were on. I joined you later. Black Dragon, you were on. How was it for you to start covering this story without having much to go on?
For me, I really actually I enjoyed it. It was the first time I tried that. I just wanted to go on because the news was breaking, and I was able to pull up some stories, go live, and it just reminded me of the early days of Fox News, of CNN, of breaking news, of the channels where you would watch these the motorcycle chases or car chase or whatever. It just was something that was happening, and now we're in such an atmosphere where you can get like second to second updates. And obviously, it's a good learning experience for me. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Made a few mistakes, like I just said, reported something. But, when you're getting the first reports of eyewitnesses, you have to be very careful. That obviously we learned. But you know what? I mean, again, I touched on it earlier, and talking to AJ and talking to the family of some of the water dogs that we talked to live on the night we had them. These people are like you heard him say. Here's somebody that lost a loved one, and there's no news coverage. I mean, sure, they might have it at 11. You got to wait. You're antsy. You got to try to figure it out. So if somebody's running a program, trying to come up with instant updates and keep everybody, up to date. We had a few people that were actually at the rally. YouTube is awesome because it's worldwide. So we had people that were in New Mexico. We ran to a couple of them. We had an EMT worker that was there. So it was amazing, actually. And I really, I really think that there's a few channels that have reached out to us, this Hollywood, and sort of said, hey, the thing is, and kind of touches back to my earlier point today, the mainstream media is not the MC Club's fan. It's not a 1% Club's fan. It's not a 99% Club. The mainstream media is no fan of motorcycle clubs, period. Riding clubs, Christian clubs, they want to label us all gangbangers and bike and we're doing all these terrible things. And so if you can get a news source that's going to just give you facts and maybe you learn them the second that it happens, I got a lot of great feedback on that, and I think that might be the new way of the world. And to hear some of these families that have tuned in that were riveted to the actual broadcast that we were doing at like 2:00 in the morning when this stuff was happening, it was a pretty incredible thing. And I think it's a really good space that we can, obviously with you got to tread lightly and make sure you're covering all your bases so that you don't report anything wrong. But I think it could be a really big tool for us creators to see what's going on in breaking news situations for sure.
Well, I agree. Black Dragon, because we've been doing this the longest, why is it so important that somebody that is, that's in the scene and understands the scenes, been around the scene, put out the information?
Well, I want to answer both of the questions. Your first one was, what was it like? And, we don't often break news. We often try to do, and this is the second part of your question, we often are looking at news stories written by the media, the mainstream media. And because we have been on the inside of a lot of this that's going on, we'll look at that story and then we will try to explain to folks the biker angle. And that's what your first show ever was, called The Biker Angle. Because, you had this idea and you realized for the longest time that the angle that we were getting was the mainstream angle. It wasn't the biker angle. So the importance of us being in there is that nobody is going to speak to the positivity, to the good stuff, to the great things about the club. No one's going to speak about that. And because we love clubs and we love club life, we are, we're dedicated to saying, well, that might be how you see it, but this is how we live this life. And in this 24-hour news cycle, and, when we first got started, everybody was mad. And this is before we were to see all the other folks that come running down this. Like just the other night, there's a whole brand new biker news channel that started on TikTok, and all they have is just clip after clip after clip of what the news media is playing. And so we always wanted to say something. You were the pioneer in this this whole idea of the biker news angle from the biker's perspective. For me, covering this, because we don't often break news, it was just really unnerving. My first thought was, oh my God, not again. Is this? And you don't know, it's breaking. So we're hearing all kinds of stuff. So I tuned on the scanner, and I'm trying to cover it. And there's like only one or two channels that really had it. Some guy that does breaking news of any kind, he had it on his channel. So I was looking back and forth between him. They had this thing showing the helicopters coming in, the planes flying around, the helicopters coming into the to the city and taking people, and then I find out real time that there's not a lot of trauma centers. There's only one major like hospital trauma center, and the places are getting shut down. The hospitals are being shut down, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Now we know later that the sheriff was shutting them down and making them safe places to be, and we're hearing that there are bikers chasing down ambulances, and we're hearing that there's shootouts with ambulances, and we're just hearing all of this craziness just to hear it go down. It reminds me when I was in the Red Cross as a disaster action chairman. I was disaster action chairman in the Lawton, Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle region way many years ago, 25, 30 years ago. And it reminds me of going to tornadoes and running down tornadoes and going to disaster scenes. It was chaos everywhere. And as a news person, it was, I don't want to say exciting. I want to say it was what we do, and being caught up in it was crazy. But in the back of my mind, I already knew several people had died and several people had been shot. So in the back of my mind was this impending kind of feeling, because we're in motorcycle clubs and we've buried brothers and we've had brothers killed and we've had brothers run over, because we're all in that and have all experienced that. There's this impending doom in my heart for both sides, that loved ones are not going to be, loved ones are going to be, this was going to be a great night for some people, and that just changed, and it's changed forever. So that's what it was like for me covering it. And that's what I think is important about the fact that we do cover this.
Now, Marco, what do you think about the misinformation? Hell, you got people out there saying they were shooting at ambulances and,
for that part, I will say, number one, I mean, the report was a rolling shootout, which is, that's exactly what they were talking about. Then we did learn from Shaggy later on that his guys were all in cars and that there were motorcycles following the ambulance. So that report was from an ambulance. Somebody was listening to a scanner real time and having the person in the ambulance be freaked out that the bikes were chasing them. And we even had Shady say that. So that actually, I think, was corroborated. But, obviously we do have to be careful with what we report. I mean, the worst witnesses possible are eyewitnesses. If you've ever been into a situation where chaos is happening, it's very hard to remember specific details. That's why they'll normally get everybody away from each other so you don't talk. They try to get each side of the story so they can figure out what happens and they can recreate the scene. So obviously we have to be very careful with what we're reporting. But when nothing else is going on and you're there live and you can get some eyewitness reports, look, man, if CNN does it, Fox does it, MSNBC does it, all the major news channels do it. They go to people out there all the time. So it's obviously a system that works, but you just have to be careful with what you do. And again, this is it's a work in progress. Certainly, we're not major news channels, but we are able to figure out a lot. I thought we really, honestly, I thought all of us did a really good job with handling it and figuring it out and rolling with the punches, but it could be better for sure.
Rock on, man. Rock on. BD, your thoughts?
So I'm not sure what part of the segment we're in, but I do want to talk when that segment comes up about some of the things that are being said about what's really going on here. When do we get to that part of the segment?
Well, you just start now.
So, what really caused this to happen? Is this because somebody took a picture with someone, or is this because there's a whole lot more going on that's local in that area that people keep calling me up? Yeah.
You had the story on this. You were going to break it. Go ahead.
That people keep calling me up over and over and over saying the same things. This is about a bigger club moving into the territory, and the folks that are perceived as or showing that, or some kind of way aligning themselves with that club that's coming into the area, that's trying to get into the area, and that the Waterdogs have fallen into that for whatever reason. And there are rules to this thing. And folks keep saying, they keep calling over and over and over again. This really has to do, they believe, they've said, with and even the sheriff's office and folks have said, this was a picture with the Mongols Motorcycle Club. But the calls that I keep getting from people all over the place is, you got clubs that are trying to move over to that side, this club trying to come in, and what you're seeing is really a result of that action. So a lot of folks are calling in saying this Shady knew exactly what was going on. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what the consequences could be. And this was something that's been brewing for quite some time. They talk about, and when you see this kind of thing go on, a lot of times what you'll see is when a new club is moving into an area, one of the first things that they'll do, and this was unheard of a long time ago, but the first thing that they'll do is pick up the folks that were out bad from the local clubs, folks who are out bad, folks that have been jumping from club to club to club to club. Some kind of way, these are the folks that always manage to be the first representatives of the new club in town, are trying to make it into town. So they've already got bad blood in the area. They're already looked at in a negative way. And then all of a sudden they show up pushing the agenda of this new club, maybe because they were mad, maybe because they were upset, maybe because they got put out bad or whatever the case may be. And we see more and more of these clubs doing it. It used to be that you would never see that sort of thing, but I think you're seeing it a lot more these days. So I just keep getting a lot of folks calling saying, we know this guy, we know everything that's going on here, and it's not what the news is making it out to be.
Well, Marco, it sounds like he was playing both sides of the deal right there. And like BD said, he was trying to get with the other dominant club, even though one dominant gave the blessing. And people were asking, how do you know if the Waterdog shot first? Well, it came from the shooter's mouth on the news from his statement in the court records. What do you think about what BD's saying now?
Well, obviously there's obviously truth to that. I think, because there's a number of things at play here. Number one, I don't think there's as many people getting into clubs. So the retreads that he's talking about are people that are out and bad or gone from other clubs. They're more prevalent in these new clubs popping up. And of course, if they have their own agenda and they're trying to push the new club's agenda, you can see where friction might turn out. The nice thing is we did hear from Shady himself. I mean, obviously he said in the interview that we had with him that he got a blessing from the #1 Bandido. He quoted that as saying that. And then of course, this picture, now that we know it's a wedding picture that was with some Mongols, and that's really the problem, allegedly of those two clubs. I'm not going to get into their club business, but you could see where that would be putting the Waterdogs in the direct middle of what is happening. And unfortunately, in this instance, when you're in the direct middle, bad things happened. And so, I think there's a lot of truth to what Black Dragon is saying. I think this is this is a harder issue than just him playing both sides. I know, I think that obviously he there was definitely some bad blood. You heard in the story, you can go back and listen to the live show, but he said a few times they said they were going to kill him. They saw him in Harley Davidson. They pulled a knife. They were out. They were the guys that were going to jump him. So this was a long-standing problem that came to a head at the Red River rally, and we're seeing the remains of it now.
Well, one thing that he said was there was only 7 members, but they took their Facebook down, and on there was like 30 or something like that. So with that, and then also a year before when he had that other podcast and stuff, he really knew what he was doing. But my biggest question is, if you know something's going to go down, why would you go to a rally that's attended by the dominant like that and put people in harm's way? And
that certainly is a good question.
You kind of had Black Dragon. I won't say it about 1%er clubs. I would say baby Hueys that are running these other clubs that have no idea about club life, how the thing works, the protocols that go along with it. You know, you have a lot of people that go around, and this is basically coming from independents or those that are never in the club life that have some big opinions about how clubs are gangs or how they act, but it's not a lifestyle to them. This is some very serious business. It's a subculture within the motorcycling scene, and a lot of people don't get that.
Well, you know, my video about baby Hueys was not particularly to shed. It's a question about when you see a lot of these things happening over and over and over again. The question is, where's the leadership? How is the leadership allowing these things to happen over and over and over again? And a lot of times we say, well, these are just kids, 35 and 40 years old. And so a guy wrote in to me and he was explaining that among his two stepchildren, 139 and 140, are 16-year-olds living in grown men's bodies. We're seeing that play out across the stratosphere, state after state after state, shooting after shooting after shooting. And you have to ask, who's running these clubs? In my own experience, I watch the young folks get together, invite each other in, choosing their friends to be officers, and getting in a circle jerk of people that don't have a whole lot of experience, bolstering each other up, and you got the blind leading the blind out there, and everybody gets mad at me. You're old, you're out of touch. Well, I'm not so out of touch that you see everything we're doing out in the news and people calling us gangs and making new legislation and shutting down rallies and stuff. That didn't used to go on. So,
well, at the same time, we have to say, you know, because of the internet, because of the 24-hour news cycle, it does seem bigger than it really is. And when you're and yeah, that, you know what, with the Red River Rally and the cancellation, they've been trying to get that canceled for years. And this is finally the incident that did it. And I brought this up on this morning show. 3 were killed. Yes. 10 injured at the Red River Rally. But over the weekend in Chicago, you had 50 shootings. And it's not even
hold up. Come on.
It's a lot different how the media covers bikers than it is.
No, that's BS. That's BS.
No, it ain't BS, because that's the difference between how the media covers MCs than it does regular people.
Yeah, the media never talks about the biker or about the gangs in Chicago. They don't call Chicago Chirac. They don't talk about the 400 killings. They're just silent about that. They never say a word about that. They only talk about bikers. Get out of here.
Well, they make a bigger deal out of bikers.
They don't call them thugs or nothing like that. They're just absolutely silent. It's just the only people they're talking about is bikers. Well, when you have gang members shooting gang members, okay, they're shooting. They got a war. They're gang members shooting gang members. Are they shooting up rallies? We have to take responsibility for our own actions.
They're too busy shooting up kids.
You can't be screaming one day on your show that bikers are gangs and stuff, and they act like gangs, and then the next day on the show you're screaming, "Oh man, all they're doing is picking on us."
Well, look. First of all, the problem is Chicago has problems. Chicago, they're shooting
media, how they cover it.
Yeah, Chicago has shootings every day. It's unfortunate. But you know what? There's so many of them, they don't cover them anymore. This was obviously different because it was a family event. It's a different feel for what? The news media. The news media is always going to take the most out of the world thing and push it. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. Chicago is old news because they're killing each other all day, every day there. So that it doesn't get the attention that it deserves. But I will say
the Chicago crime rate is down.
That's because they're killing each other. They're running out of people.
Oh, that's bullshit.
What are you talking about? The crime's down. We're the murder capital of the United States.
Well, the crime rate is down, according to the mayor.
Yeah, well, I think that mayor is just saying that.
Statistics. No, the mayor's not just saying that. The mayor's reading the statistics.
Yeah.
What statistics?
Listen, you can get any statistic to say whatever you wanted to say, Black Dragon. You know that's true.
Of course, don't believe your lying eyes. Sure.
Well, I'm just saying. Well,
we're talking about the way the media covers everything right now.
The media has not been good to any kind of fun person they call a gang member. When has the media been good to Chicago gangs? Oh, what they're getting a blessing and some halos from the media now?
Well, it's different how they covered it. Now they'll throw in bikers like, this story has been going on a week in international news, but you don't see them covering the other stuff like that.
The bottom line is, look, the news chooses what it's going to run by how many clicks it can get, how many papers they can sell, whatever they're doing. And so whatever the new sensational story is they're gonna cover. The problem I want to cover with Black Dragon said is, with these, you say, where's the leadership? You're talking about grown men. I mean, the point is, yeah, there's international presence or however your club is set up, but they're not with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These are grown men making decisions. And sometimes things happen, and that's just, you can't be with somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And for better or for worse, if you do something to a guy in Jacksonville, a guy in Tennessee might have the consequences of it. If you're in a club, those things are a legitimate thing. And unfortunately, Shady, think about what happened in this story right here. Shady is the one that had the problem with according allegedly to all of the facts that we've gotten. He's the one that had the major problems. He didn't die. Other people died. So his problem became other people's problems very quickly. And unfortunately, human beings lost lives. And that's the way these guys can't hold their hands. These are grown men making decisions, and they made the wrong decisions.
But let's go into that segment now.
I'm covering biker news. I'm not covering Chicago gang news. I cover biker news.
Yeah, well, you cover biker news, but at the same time, let's go into the next segment. Biker news is specifically on bikers, but we know the media don't treat them right. But let's go to what he was saying. I personally think the leaders should have responsibility. I think they should be coming to the table and discussing it. Come on, you got all these fights that are happening over decades for, the newer people don't even know what the hell the fight was supposed to be about. And you're starting to get all these killings, all these shootings. So isn't it time for the leaders to come to the table and try to squash this shit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if they don't, and hell, what do I know? I'm not a 1%er, but if they don't, what do you think is going to be the repercussion? What do you think? You think citizens of the United States are going to keep watching all this stuff unfold? Okay, let's just say everything you're saying is right. Let's just say, okay, they cover us more than anybody else. They hate us the most. This is a small thing. Only 2 or 3 people died compared to 200 people that died in Chicago this weekend. Let's just say that. So we're the ones where the focus is, the biker clubs. And we're the ones that are being subjected to all of the media coverage. And we're the ones that are being subjected to all of the new legislation and stuff. We're the bad guys. We haven't run out of folks to kill, Marco. Right. So at some point, when does the boogeyman, real or imagined, get taken off of the chessboard?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because that goes right to the first point that I made in this broadcast, is that the mainstream media has shifted, and politicians, along with every single news department, has now made the choice that we are biker gangs. Whether you're an RC, whether you're the guy that we had on earlier in a Christian club, if you wear a cut, you are a gang member and you are doing gang things, and you need to be handled like a gang. And that's, I'm telling you, You just have to go watch a few different shows, different commercials, different newscasts, different articles to see that everyone is doing the same narrative. It changed about 3 or 4 weeks ago where it's gang, 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 gang. And now what they're going to do is do legislation. They're coming. They're coming for the MC world. Trust me, this is the first step in how the government does business. It creates a problem or it highlights a problem, and then it says, guess what? We have the solution. Here's the new bill that we're introducing, that all people riding in motorcycle clubs are now subject to stop and frisk or whatever they're going to do. The legislation is coming. It is upon us.
The new Patriot Act.
Well, to bring that point up with what BD's talking about, leaders actually coming together and squashing this shit. Red River was last week, and I got the story coming out soon as that, it was funny, and I brought that up in the video, that when this happened, well, now in Denmark, they have just launched an investigation to get rid of the Bandidos, kind of like what they did to Sataduras and what Germany's doing with a lot of the clubs down there.
Yeah.
They reacted right away to this. And you really didn't have any news out in Denmark coming out, but because of this, it led to something else. And you guys are talking about it will affect us. Yeah, I believe in gang enhancement laws as well as civil RICOs are going to start coming out on this.
Yeah, and the reason why it starts in Denmark, Hollywood, is because it's easier there to start what you're going to be putting everywhere else. That's why it's happened in Australia. That's why it happens, in the whole EU, the whole European nations. It's a little bit easier because they don't really have the freedoms that we have here in the United States of America that are dissipating faster than you can even shake a stick at. So, yeah, they did it in Denmark because it's easy to start there. And then you carry that wave over and say, well, look what Denmark did. Denmark, I mean, imagine what you just said. They are thinking about taking a motorcycle club and disbanding them. Whether you're a red and gold fan, red and white, black and white, it doesn't matter. This could be happening to you. And I think the one thing that I see most in this community, the MC culture and the MC world, is we tend to be like, well, you know what? It's not my club. It's not my problem. I'm telling you, this is a problem for everybody. Everybody, when the Mongols were going through their whole patch, the government was going to take it. That should have been, and I know it was discussed by a lot of other clubs. That was a problem for everybody. This is an everybody issue. It's not just going to be the Bandidos. They might start with the Bandidos, but it ain't going to end there.
What do you think, Dragon, would be the first step?
And so that was what my video was about last night. When it comes down to organizations, how the military taught us, it's all leadership, 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 leadership. In the old days, and I'm old, I'm sorry, I'm 60, I'm old for motorcycle clubbing. Now the 70-year-olds will laugh at me, but in the old days, God help you if you brought discredit to the MC publicly. In the old days, the motorcycle club, we didn't play this stuff out in public. We were told you can't do that. So the leaders, bro, if you're leading some folks, man, you got to find a way to reach those people. You got to find a way to lead leadership by example. You guys, one of the worst problems that happens in motorcycle clubs is everybody votes their friends in these days. I said it last night on my show. Try in your next voting for somebody you absolutely hate, you can't stand. It's not a friend of yours, but you know he's got the best interest of the MC at heart. You got to look at what's going on in the news. You know, if folks like us are talking about this, and you know, we're all club connected. So if folks like us are talking about this, what's going on in living rooms and stuff across the country when folks are hearing all this gang stuff? I mean, it's just like they should be afraid of us. The first step should be the MCs need to take an inward look and figure out, if I got a problem with this guy over here or this group of folks or whatever the case may be, I need to hey man, if we've got to invite him out at the water tower up there in the desert behind the dunes over there, we got to keep the stuff where nobody can see this. We got to keep the stuff down, and handle this within ourselves. Maybe start some, the UK. Dibber tells me often about the UK, and he said, so many years ago, 30 years ago, whatever the amount of time was, the UK got together, and these folks actually formed a real coalition. And this coalition was formed to stop all of the wars and stuff that they had going on, and it actually had real teeth to it. And perhaps that's what these guys should do. This idea that there are territories and only one club can be here, and that's really going by the wayside really fast. The world is smaller. People are traveling easier. Folks are moving places. They want to take their motorcycle clubs with them. I think the old way is gone. I think it's become a prevalent fact that anybody that wants to start a motorcycle club somewhere is going to. So, and you got all these smaller 1%er clubs popping up, all these younger folks coming in, all these folks that are ready to shoot it out, and all that. So maybe there should be an idea that we're not going to be able to stop. The trend is already out there. These things are everywhere. Anytime you commit a crime or do something, or this thing right here is going to catch it. And so clubs have to operate a different way, or they're going to go the way of the dodo, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Marco.
We've been talking about this for a long time. You hit the nail on the head. So we're at a point, a precipice. We're at a turn in the road, if you will, where the old ways of doing motorcycle stuff is clashing with the new ways of doing motorcycle stuff. It is quite fascinating if you stand back and just look to see what is going to happen. We talked several different times about, sort of the age, born at 1980 or earlier. You think a certain way about motorcycle clubs. 1980 or later, you think another way. And that, along with the protocols of the old MC and them not actually, this goes to a point that we hit earlier, they should have somebody that they have ready to be like, hey, this is our side of the story. You wouldn't be telling on anybody. You would just be like, look, because the mainstream media is never going to give you the benefit of the doubt as a motorcycle club, right? We can all agree on that. So let's say in this instance, the Bandidos can say, hey, well, you know what, X, Y, and Z. Well, there's information we didn't know and we were never going to have from the mainstream media. And you don't even have to do it. You can appoint somebody to do it. You can have a club liaison, something to get out at least the correct information so that we can stop, wondering or saying, well, speculation, or this is what the paper is saying, or the news, whatever. So you have that problem. You have the problems of the old ways of thinking with the new ways, and the old guys with the new guys, and it is all happening in 2023. And the result is everything you see on every one of our channels.
Well, you know what? I have to step in here. Then what you're saying is the clubs have to change. They have to get it under control. And that protocol's dead then.
I think, I don't know. I mean, if I had all the answers, it would be great. I think that you just can't keep operating. Obviously, the quick line of, the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. So, I mean, we're at a point now where I would be up for it, but I mean, I don't make those decisions. I'm not in the, I can't speak for any other clubs or anything like that. So it would be nice. I think that it, certainly should be, at this point, you should be saying to yourself, let's throw anything we can at the wall to see what is going to work here, because what's currently happening is not working. I think we can all agree with that.
Is it us that agrees to that, or is it the actual clubs, or do a clubs see the problem, BD? You there?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Say it again. I'm sorry.
We see the problems, and those that are independent see the problems, but is it really a problem to the club themselves? Do they think there's a problem?
I don't know.
Is it us out there just fanning the flames and stuff like that, hoping that they listen? where they really say to themselves, and they have for the last 50 years, we don't care what you think.
As
And,
long as
and
nothing,
if that's the attitude, why would they come to the table?
as long as nothing changes in their day-to-day life, and most of us, this is human nature, right? So as long as nothing changes for someone's day-to-day life, it's very difficult to project and look into the future and say, if I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H will happen. So this has been the bane of mankind. Do I plan for the 7 years of pestilence while I'm in my 7 years of great things happening? Am I going to build the grain silos and put away the food and the water and the medicines to carry me through the bad times? Most people in the United States of America are not prepped. They're not preppers. When the great disaster comes down, the first half or more of us are going to perish in the first 6 weeks. I mean, how many people were caught flat-footed when COVID hit? Like, if COVID had been Ebola, we'd have been the hell up out of here. Many of us. If you don't have enough food to survive 6 weeks, that's the first kill off of any disease or something. So I think, motorcycle clubs are not prepared for the kill off. They're not prepared for if the draconian things really happen. There's nobody sitting around and planning things out. And that's I think human nature. For
Well,
someone like me, I think the handwriting is on the wall. Like, how many times can somebody come on a news show and call you a gang in 13 different minutes? Call you a gang 2,500 times in 13 minutes. How long can that go on? How long can you sustain the media blitz before they start coming up with laws and stuff to do that? Maybe not. Hollywood, maybe we're just yelling in the sky. The sky is falling, and we're just Chicken Little. The sky ain't gonna fall at all.
Well, I'm just bringing up the fact that, a lot of people that write into us, we know we get that all the time. Who the hell are we to tell these leaders how to run their clubs?
Yeah. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're going to run things the way that they want to run them, and that's their prerogative, and that's what they should do. So, I mean, obviously you could say, hey, this might work, but if people aren't willing to come to the table, then, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And who's to say that they're not doing it the right way? That's the way they want to do it, and that's their business.
Go ahead, Beatty.
I don't know. Are we soothsayers or are we doomsdayers?
No, but the question really does come up from club members. Who do you think you are to tell our leaders how to run the club?
Yeah.
Well, my response is, who do you think you are to make the block hot for all of us? The block is hot. If you were trying to ride your motorcycle home from Red River, and I was told, now I wasn't there, but I've been told by people that were there, you couldn't find a motorcycle on the street damn near the day after. I had folks tell me they went through checkpoint after checkpoint. The sheriff said, I'm going to pull you over. I'm going to run you. I'm going to run you through NCIC. I wish you would do 1 mile an hour and 1 mile per hour over the speed limit. I just wish you would. Because if I find a reason to arrest you, I will. Now, if I'm Biker X that wasn't involved in anything, but I happen to have a warrant for, or bad registration or bad license plate, or something I wouldn't have had to worry about because he would have pulled me over and said, oh, man, get your registration fixed. Now I got to go to jail. But why? I didn't do nothing wrong. So who's trying to, no, it's the same thing they tell us when they tell us how to run our motorcycle clubs. When we first started ever having to deal with the other side, it was always, don't make us look bad. We're we're looking at you, crotch rocket riders and stuff that are getting together to form clubs because we don't want you to make the block hot for all of us. We don't want you guys to look bad. Let us show you how it's done. And that's how the beginnings of this whole MC protocol thing came together, where folks were telling you, oh, you need to come over here and get your colors blessed, and there's a way to do this. And we trusted the older brothers to show us the way.
We talk about it now, and there's that 24 news cycle that I was talking about. If you actually look at things today, it's actually, you know, and the only reason why it's so big is, again, you got it all over the place, where it is actually tame compared to the way it was when there were some real serious bombings out there, a lot of getting people shot up. So do you see where the clubs are saying, you know what, screw you, we've been through this, we know what we're doing? And I think you're coming at the angle of now it's affecting everybody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's usually when things change, right? I mean, when it starts to affect the police officers in Albuquerque, when the DEA has a problem in Texas, when the senators start to get calls from their constituents, that's when stuff changes. That's what I'm talking about. So they normally will usually swing way over and do a big overcorrection into something insane, like, I don't know, the Patriot Act, which sounded like a good idea, but if you ever read that bill, it was atrocious for the American people and for your privacy. And that's what's going to happen right here. It's the same thing. I mean, but you're right. Nothing happens until somebody starts to think they might be losing their job, whether it's the police chief or the local mayor or the guy that needs the votes for being the next senator or the president. That's how things work. And that's an unfortunate part.
Can we be honest, BD, that it was worse 30, 40, 50 years ago than it is now? There's just more attention on it. With Biker News and all that.
It was worse, but it was worse in a different way. So if I go blow your clubhouse up, that's terrible. That's actually worse. But what we weren't seeing is shootouts, or were we? You know, I was new to the biker set 30 years ago, and I was on the black set, and I was in the 99% club, nestled in San Diego. I didn't know about all this stuff. I didn't know about biker wars, this, that, and the other. But were you having shootouts at casinos? Were you having shootouts at where regular, ordinary people were walking around in the casino and they got their children and stuff in there, and you got a running shootout downtown in the middle of town? Or did you have somebody blow up somebody's clubhouse and it was very, very central to the biker community and not out in the public for everybody to see? So it might have been worse, but with this news cycle, less is worse. Smaller is worse. Everybody's fighting for these news cycles, and these news cycles make lots of money for these entities that press the flesh, that press these stories, or the more they can get them out there. So maybe it's not as bad, but it absolutely appears worse. And maybe that's because it's happening in public space. Because remember, 35 years ago, before we had those two guys show up in black trench coats and shoot up a school, when had that happened before? It happened in Australia so many years ago that they took all their guns away from them.
1994.
But actually, they didn't take all their guns. They seem to have shootouts all the time there. But they took everybody's guns away. So before that happened, I thought that happened earlier than that, Hollywood. But anyway, before that happened here, and now we see it all the time. So it has gotten worse in that aspect. We're seeing more and more of these things take place in public venues. And that's because, as I said in my Baby Huey story last night, that's because the young folks communicate differently. You might talk about TikTok all you want, but young folks communicate on TikTok. Young folks are coming in your club, they're going to communicate on TikTok. If the club isn't monitoring TikTok, you got these folks threatening folks and doing all kinds of stuff in the public on TikTok. So instead of clubs saying, hey, man, we don't talk on TikTok, and the OGs in the club refusing to turn on a TikTok channel, maybe you should make some bylaws about what can be said and can't be said so that you can monitor how these people are communicating in your clubs. I'm not telling you how to run your club. I'm just saying that these are some things that would seem to me to make sense in battling today's things that are against clubs. Obstacles, challenges. If you are, and I'll just say this, if you're still sending smoke signals up and carrier pigeons out, you're going to be behind the curve if you're dealing with somebody that's got one of these phones and is sending text messages and TikTok videos. That's my point.
That sounds great. The problem, Black Dragon, is that most of these people are communicating on TikTok on their phones. So where are you going to fish? Are you going to fish in a creek with no fish? Or are you going to fish in a river with millions of fish? So these are the places to grab people to be in clubs because that's where they're at. So the old ways of getting members and renewing your membership and bringing solid guys in, of going out and those are all going by the waysides. Nobody's doing that anymore. So they do it on Facebook. They do it on TikTok. That's how they get a lot of the people that are interested in the club to say, hey, well, why don't you come out on a ride with us? Since you see us on TikTok all the time. So listen, it's starting to sound like again, you're treating the symptom and not the problem. It's the same thing as the gun debate. Guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people. And that's the problem. Yeah. I mean, yes, TikTok, is it a great environment for people? But no. But TikTok is not the reason why these people are shooting these people. I got to
disagree with that. I got to disagree with that big time. You're talking about communication. What Black Dragon's saying is you got people going out there in their colors talking shit. That's what he's talking about. And that's causing a lot of strife between the clubs. It has nothing to do with, you're sitting there in your colors and trying to get somebody interested in your club. No, what it has to do with is you got these people out there on TikTok, a lot of our bad members do it, talking shit about their former clubs. It causes strife. Or you got people out there that diss the other clubs.
Well, listen, we all know how much hate is on social. Us three together. I mean, I read the hate air. I just see it in the chat here. Somebody's giving me a whole bunch of business about how I have no idea what I'm talking about. And great, you're totally entitled to that response. It doesn't bother me. But here's the problem, Hollywood. These guys aren't going out there doing that. Let's say there's a guy in his colors for Club X, and he's riding his motorcycle saying, hey, man, tonight's bike night. Come on out. And then some dude jumps on there and calls him an F-face. And your club sucks. Well, okay, now he's going to be like, man, F you. And so now you've started the problem where he didn't go looking for that problem, but the problem is there because the hate is on social media like you wouldn't even imagine. The people write shit online that you would never say to somebody's face. It's unimaginable what you put in writing behind a keyboard. It's super easy to do, and that starts to pop off the problem.
Am I getting where you're going, Black Dragon, with them going on with their colors, talking shit?
And I mean, and you said it too. Like, it used to be if you left a club out bad, you left a club out bad, or you went on with your life. You tried to find something else to do. You tried to find another club to join. If you took issue with, and man, I go back to my videos I used to do, like 5 reasons you could leave your club. 5 reasons I see not to stay in a club forever. And at the end of that, it was always move on, go on with your life, find another club, go do something else. Now they make TikTok channels to show the bylaws of their former clubs and to take the mystique away from being in the top clubs in the country. They take the mystique away and bring these clubs down to feuding, infighting little entities with the same problems everybody else has. And I everybody's got a platform, everybody's got a TikTok page, Instagram page, YouTube page, Snapchat page, Twitch, blah blah blah. Everybody's a content producer, and it doesn't take anything to get 1 million views. And so clubs are missing the education, the training, the development. They're missing that to get bigger and more powerful, or whatever the case may be. They're missing that. And absolutely. And then this is crazy. I had a talk with one of my very close brothers who called me a few hours ago, and I was half-ass asleep. And I'm so mad because he wanted me to do a video about the 5 things he sees are the biggest challenges to motorcycle clubs today. And he cited number 1, I'm not going to remember them all, but number 1 are cell phones. And how the cell phone, which has changed the world, changes the way that we run motorcycle clubs. Now, how many of you guys are in motorcycle clubs now that are really WhatsApp clubs or GroupMe clubs, where all the meetings now are done on freeconferencecall.com, and you don't even get together and ride anymore? Everything, you're doing politics, business, you're arguing, you're fussing and fighting, and it's all on Instagram messages or TikTok or WhatsApp messages. Like, the whole motorcycle club phenomenon of people riding together, being together, hanging together is being lost. And so by the time you get together, there's no discipline, there's no nothing. In the old days, a road captain had to certify you before you rode with the pack. When was the last time that happened? To me, it's crazy.
Here's the question that Myron just asked. The question needs to be asked is, why should the young Thunderheads listen to the old Thunderheads about peace when they're just trying to emulate the Graybeards' history?
Well, like I said, man, these are grown men, and they're mostly alpha males, just like everybody. You know, you're in a club, and there are different levels of what you're going to accept, what you're not going to accept, and it's just the product of the environment, man. I mean, yeah, you're right. The old guys, in the 70s and 60s and 70s and 80s, I mean, you just outlined it. They were doing the same things, maybe on a worse level. So really, is this history repeating itself, or is this just men being men? I don't know, man. I mean, for me, it's, you just can't control somebody. The whole point of being in the club and being in a motorcycle club is you don't want to be, you want to be free, and you want to be doing your own thing, and you don't really like being told what to do.
Well, I know the Graybeards messed up. We've messed up in many ways, in a lot of ways, including recruiting some of you SOBs. Big mistake. We never expected that we would lose control like we have. We wanted to always play fair, give you a vote, allow you to matriculate. We never planned for you to stop listening. I always thought I would be relevant until I decided to step down. I didn't realize that there would be some cats get together that decided they needed to step me down and not realize their own selves that they didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. The only way that they're going to find out is through learning the hard way, like some of us did, which may set our clubs back 25, 30 years. So that's what we got to suffer through. So, yeah, they might want to repeat the Graybeards. And how can we ask them to listen? Well, obviously, we're not doing a good job of asking them to listening, and they're not doing a good job of listening. Because I can tell you what not to do, as I can absolutely tell you what has failed for me.
Well, is there a limit? This would be an interesting one. And by the way, when you do have out bad members for the club, you're always welcome to get a hold of us, and we'll make sure it gets out there for you. But is there a time when somebody should just retire and not be a part of the club? Because it's not like the older guys are going to go out there partying with the younger guys. Is there a time where a guy just has to get out?
I don't know. 35 years in, it's been like a love affair for me. There have been times that I did get out. I mean, I never turned in my patch, but I absolutely stopped participating as much. like a love affair, or like doing karate. You might do it every day for 20 years, and then you might take a couple years off, and then I got to get back in the gym again. You see this with weightlifters, whatever you have this long-term love affair with. You're making love to your woman every day, then you might have a 2 or 3 year layoff where you can't stand her ass, and then here you are back again. Motorcycle clubs are the same way. They are lifelong relationships for some people. Some people are only in it for a minute. Some people are only in it to get what they can get. They can't have their way. They take their baby Huey ass on somewhere. Thanks,
Sunshine.
Is there a time to get out? Yeah. Thanks, Sunshine, for that donation to Hollywood there. Is there a time to get out when it's not right for you any longer? When you don't feel, some guys are like, I can't do this lifestyle anymore. I just had a kid. Go take care of your kid.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is tripping. Well, go. You can't be any good to us if your household ain't right. Go take care of your wife. Take what it take the time. I just found God. Well, go enjoy your religion. We'll be here when you get back, if you come back. So
well, what I'm talking about is the older guys are not in tune. Because like you said, you're not around much anymore. They're not in tune what's going on with, because we blame the younger generation, and they are just emulating what the older guys did in their younger generation. So do the older graybeards actually understand the scene anymore?
Oh yeah, it's like riding a bike, man.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, why is the Bible, the Holy Bible, the Quran, the Torah, why are these things relevant? They were written 400,000 years ago or something. They were written at 1 AD or whatever the case may be. Why are they still relevant? Because humans don't change. You don't have to read in the Bible about spaceships traveling up to the moon with billionaires on it. If they travel up to the moon with billionaires on it, they're still going to have the same problems that Herod had when he had his people traveling across the desert on camels. The dynamics of humanity never change. The dynamics of humanity are going to be the same. So as long as you know the dynamics of humanity and you're in your right mind, it doesn't matter whether they're on electric motorcycles or whether they're on Harleys. You haven't lost your perspective. The only thing that changes is the players, not the game.
Well, I wanted to bring in Mike Ball because we're talking about the younger ones here. Go on with BD and give you some of your opinions, Mike. Ian, by the way, he's been doing an awesome job tonight.
Good job,
pretty radical. I hate to come on to the stream when it's like this, and it's, you know what I mean? Like I would way rather come on a better circumstance, but this is pretty gnarly, man. And I'm part of the younger generation, and you can't blame the entire thing on the young guy. But also you got to remember that the older guys, the graybeards, aren't being heard as much anymore, and they're not voicing up as much as I think as they should either, to be respectful. That's just my opinion.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, no, I mean, I agree. Again, it's one of those things where it's give and take, obviously if you are speaking, then hopefully people are listening to you. But if you're not speaking the current language of what's going on, you're going to be seen as out of touch, called Gramps or uncle or whatever they want to call you, and they're gonna, and again, it really is this really weird place we're at, where we just have a lot of guys that have been doing this for a long time, that have been doing it a certain way, the exact same way for a long time, and I think we have some newer guys that are trying it a little bit different way, and I think what you're seeing is the direct result. I really do, and it just comes down to communication, and it's the communication of, hey man, and again, how do you bring something up? Well, this is not how we did it. Here's the protocol. Here's how we've been doing it for years. And listen, I just hired a producer a few years ago, and the first thing he said to me is, and I'm never, hey, this is the way we've always, this is the way we've always done it. Speaking in terms of, of like jobs and stuff, and then have the guy say to me, Well, why? This could be a better way. You never know until you try it. And that's the attitude of a lot of millennials.
Somebody take a picture of Marco right now since his camera's froze, and I'm going to use that all over the place.
Dang, even when I remove him, he's still like that. Dang it.
Oh, well, that's priceless right there.
I'm gonna wait until he gets back to put him back in. Okay.
No, just leave that one up. I like that.
He just went off because he knows I'll use that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the final things, because we're going on 2 hours right now, and it was really good hearing from a family member about what they're going through, that it was a human on the other end of that gunshot right there. But I think it's very important on this platform, BD, because we're the old guys on this one, to actually be around the scene or actually be around the lifestyle for a while to be able to talk on it. Your thoughts?
You know something, young people, you're absolutely right. I don't want to always be coming down on y'all. And I sound like an old haggard father, like, oh my God, give me a break. This guy again. Jesus Christ, dude. We do have a lot of issues, us older cats. I mean, we're obstinate. We believe everything we say is the truth just because we experienced it. And sometimes we don't count you guys' experiences as highly as we should.
Well, what I'm talking about is the niche that we're in. You better know what you're talking about before you start spewing information out there. And that's huge, especially in our things. Hell, you're in the MC protocol channel niche, and you have people out there that talk about it. There's a bunch of new channels up on it. And it's like, dude, what's your experience? Where you been? Who do you know? That.
And even when they get the information that they get, they haven't been around the scene enough to decipher exactly. Especially a lot of the new channels that are coming out. Like, you'll jump on something and someone will tell you something. Well, you tell one of us something, and we know how MC protocol works and stuff like that. We'd be able to say, "Hold up, bro, that don't make no damn sense. What you're talking about don't even make no sense. If you got your blessing from this organization and you went and you did that, bro, that that ain't fixing to work. So what are you talking about?" And that's something that's nuance, and nuance comes with time and experience. So nuance is something that they don't have, and can be dangerous, especially when you're putting things out there and people's lives are at stake.
Thanks for that box thing. When do you think the Graybeards lost respect, and why? I don't know, man. Once you reach at a certain age, that's why, because you're not around the younger. We were like that too. We didn't want to listen to them or any of that shit. It just goes round and round. Final thoughts, guys.
Well, I want to ask you one thing. There was a controversy. There's been a controversy about the question that you asked and what your motives were behind asking the question. Were you trying to get somebody caught up, sent to jail? Were you right or were you wrong? Was VPS right or wrong? Would you care to say anything on that?
Basically, it's real easy. We're a biker news channel. What our personal lives have to do with anything is not on this channel. What we think is not on this channel. Everybody wanted to know. And that's news. That's what we're here for. If you're going to keep on skewing to one side or the other, are you really news, or are you just MSNBC or CNN? And that's where it comes from. And to come out, we had the interview with Shady, and he's shady for a damn reason. I can tell you that. But a lot of the stuff that he was saying didn't make sense. And I know VPS is out there crying and whining he got cut off. Well, I want to hear from the guy who was actually on the ground. I don't want to hear assumptions. like you said, or like we were just told, the family was coming to us for their information because the mainstream media didn't give it to them. So there shouldn't be any assumptions. And he's a nice guy. He is. But he's real inexperienced. He has no experience in the club stuff. So you got to really, like you said, you got to be able to decipher this stuff. But if you're going to be news, be news. Don't fake it. Because you know what? We are the pioneers of this. And if you want it to where people actually trust us, you can't be the one that don't ask the hard questions.
Well, Sunshine said maybe we can change the mainstream media's narrative, which has been my whole point tonight, is the mainstream media has decided to cover this a certain way. They're going to continue covering it away because that's what they do to sell clicks, papers, and all that jazz. I know a lot of people say that we do the same thing, although reading what they put out and putting out Biker News, we can agree to disagree on that. But the truth is that motorcycle clubs...
The problem is, let's not, we already went through that, Marco. The question was why we did it. Well, the reason why we did it is we just broke news.
Yeah.
Worldwide, mainstream media coming to us. That's why we got to be serious people.
Yeah, I 100%
Our
agree.
personal lives don't matter. What we think don't matter. If you're going to be in this, be in it and make it a credible type of place for people. Like in this shooting, you had the sisters of one side. We got brothers or the brother that came to us for the news. I take it very serious. Do I believe, because we get it all the time, me, BD, and now you're starting to feel it. Well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Go tell that to CNN. Go tell that to MSNBC. But as far as he's concerned, yeah, I cut him off because I wanted to hear from the guy that was there. I don't want to hear misinformation. Go ahead, BD. That answer your question?
Well, that the more specific to his point was when the
hold on a second. That's what I've been hearing. He had the only legit relevant info before it was said. If this was the case, why didn't Shady go on his damn show instead of calling us? Go ahead, BD. Nobody wants to answer that because they're, everybody's too afraid to answer, but I ain't. If you had the scoop, why did he call into our show? And why did you give us the scoop? If that's what you're claiming. Go ahead.
Well, my question, I don't know anything about that. My question was, when you asked Shady, who pulled the gun first? Everybody was upset. Not everybody. A lot of folks were upset about that question.
After the fact.
Claiming that, you had an agenda to make this man commit self-incrimination or whatever the case may be.
Well, let's answer that right away. If he would have went on MSNBC, he would have got asked the same question. If he went on a major news outlet, he would have got the same question. But what he gave his side of the story and nobody wanted to hear the Bandido side. And it turns out one of his own guys in court documents admitted to being the shooter. So this incriminating him, he came on his own free will onto this station.
Do you have a responsibility as a 1%er in a biker club to have some sort of MC protocol about the questions you ask?
No. Because what I do in my personal life is mine. I got a job here. Just like you got a job, just like those that go out and drive a truck, they got a job. My personal stuff don't have nothing to do with what I do on here. I don't have any responsibility to follow anything when I'm running a business. Do you want me to tell you how to run a business? Yes or no? You want me to tell you how to run yourself?
I don't think anyone's going to allow you to tell them how to make their money.
And there you go. It was a major scoop, and he was about to say something. And that's why we have a different format here to get a more professional show. Once the guests are done, you're out. But to say, hey, you're set. No, he came on his free will to answer questions, and they're not going to be, well, I didn't do it, or I got 7 members of a club when you really got 30 and you took your Facebook down. You probably had what, 30 to 50. So you as a reporter, if you actually take this serious, are going to dig into them questions.
If you take being a reporter serious, if you take being a news channel serious, what you're after is the truth. And that might not always fall down where you want it to.
Mhm.
Other than that, you're an opinion show, and you can sit up here and say all day long, motorcycle clubs aren't gangs.
And it's funny, you know, the ones that really go out there and cry and whine about it are, and I'm sorry, they really don't matter. It's the other clubs that called in and said, hey, good job, man. We wanted to know that. There's specific reasons that you ask questions.
I got to say one thing real quick regarding that comment, that question. Everyone in that chat, I was in the chat at the time, and there was like 1,000 people there. Everyone was spamming at that moment that exact question. And that chat was blowing the hell up, and that's what everyone wanted asked. So he answered, he followed through. He actually asked the question, which most of you guys that are hating on it, I mean, you guys wouldn't be up here asking those questions. Let's see if you have the nerve and the guts to do it up here. It's not as easy as it looks. That's all I got to say.
Does that answer your question, Beatty?
It answered it for me, yeah.
And that's one thing. You can't do this job if you're going to hamstring yourself on other people's thoughts. You're going to either give the story or not. And with me, I dug after Shady's interview and found out he did a podcast with another hip hop type of podcast, sitting there smoking dope while you're, you know, on there talking about G this and G that, and you're supposed to be a Christian club. And that's why I brought him on this Christian guy on the show to say, okay, this is what the Christian clubs I know. They're not hiding behind a cross. And you sure the hell ain't going to go to your main dominant, get your blessing, and then go hang out with another dominant. And then there was incidences where he was warned, why did you show up? You cannot play both sides of the fence. And I know people that are in clubs that not in clubs that they don't understand this. You know, they focus on, well, this is bad for us, bad for that. Well, what about the question? Everybody was out there bashing on the Bandidos, knowing they can't say their side of the story. So we had to dig. And it comes out, this dude's playing both sides of the fence. Plus, he's lying in the interview with us.
That's not the news's fault. Sorry.
Go ahead, Marco.
Well, I mean, obviously you hit on good points. I mean, I would say, look, I mean, I don't want to get into a bashing contest or this, that, and the other thing. I mean,
Of course
VPS,
you're a good guy.
VPS, it would be, we'd be remiss to say he did have a lot of details correct. He had some wrong, but he had some correct. And
Okay,
listen,
what's the ones that he had correct?
he did say that there was
talking shit. I want to know.
Well, okay, I'll tell you. So the big thing he had correct was that there was motorcycles chasing the ambulance. That's people were denying that happened, and that was proven.
Okay, that came from Shady, which is already a liar.
Okay, well, but also from the ambulance scanners and the police. The police said there's a rolling shootout, so they put it out.
What are you talking about, a rolling shootout? Now you want to get into the details I'm not one that's going to sit back here and say, well, they did this right. Come on, man. Even off air, you said a lot of shit was wrong.
Some of it, the picture was wrong, which I took major heat for because I put that on TikTok and people were pissed that was wrong.
It had 1 million views on TikTok.
And 1 million people are pissed. So, I mean, we got it wrong. And I asked him specifically, hey, are you okay?
And that picture that you guys put out wrong could have got that guy killed.
Well, there's a whole charter of people, but yeah.
Yeah, you could have got some shit started. That's why you cannot take the words of these guests. You got to dig into them.
I'm just saying.
You put out a picture that could have got a lot of people killed.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, there's definitely mistakes were made. And when you're doing stuff live, you have to make those decisions. He had the information, and I asked him point blank on the show.
What information did he have?
Well, he was talking to...
If he had him, why wasn't he on his show?
Well, he didn't have it. He was talking to Omen's brother, the one that came on. He had been talking to him, and that he also had
why. And you know what? Why wasn't Omen on his show? Because, like he said in the green room, he had a lot of
Omen was deceased. So you mean his brother?
Yeah,
right.
He said there was a lot of misinformation. That's why he came on ours. Yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't remember him saying that exactly, but he just said he was getting the information from our show for sure.
See, the one thing you're with me on my show is I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to sit there and hold your hand or any of that shit. We're going to ask you questions that need to be asked. Now, I know you went on air as soon as it happened.
Correct.
No.
And I'm sitting, because I've been watching him in the chat, man, and he can go bitch and cry all he wants. He has no experience in the MC scene. The reason why he started talking about the MCs because it does get clicks. And the guests on his show has been out bad Hell's Angels. Now, with us, we have a mix. But at the same time, you have no experience. Don't give your thoughts. And if you do have the inside scoop like you're claiming, then you should have kept it on your show. Then people would have knew what you were talking about. But I'm watching the comments in here about the king of misinformation. And that's, you know what? Maybe it's not his fault because he don't know. But when you're showing pictures and you said you had 1 million hits and didn't follow up on that picture.
I followed up on it. I followed up on it. There's
after
a video.
You put it out.
Correct, but it's followed up on.
You can't do a retraction at that point because it's already out.
Well, you have to do a retraction.
Yeah, of course you could do a retraction. This is exactly what I did.
Is that retraction going to make a difference? No. That's like putting a story on front page news, and next thing you get it wrong, and it's on the page 30. Nobody's going to see.
That literally happens every day. Just so you know, the New York Post does that. So, I mean,
New York Post, we're biker news.
I know, but I'm telling you, when you're doing it live and you have witness testimony, that picture, he didn't just take that picture willy nilly and make it up. It was given to him, and the guy that was his source.
Was it verified? A source saying people who email you. Was it verified?
I don't know. It wasn't mine. It was his.
So okay, but you showed it.
So did everyone did. Yeah,
I didn't show it.
I didn't show it.
Okay, well, I was the only one on live, so it was also on his channel. But yes, I'm the one that showed it. I'm the one that retracted it later. And I'm the one that took all the shit for it. So, lesson learned.
But nobody wanted to track down Shady's story. And you got to track that down. Because everybody's in there bitching on the Bandidos. There's only one guy that's arrested. He admitted the shooting. So you got to be real when you're doing this. I'm talking about everybody out there. If you want to do biker news, but do it real. Because there's a lot of people's lives that are at stake. Because this is a different culture that a lot of people aren't in. But those would be my questions right there. If you had all the scoops, why weren't they on your program? And if you're mad about me telling you to shut up because I wanted to listen to somebody that was actually there, sorry I hurt your feelings. No, I'm not. Go ahead.
Yeah. When it comes to reporting news like this, man, like you had stated, you can have families worried. You could have them. You could have everyone killed. You could have people killed in this. People don't think outside of themselves. It seems like that they're going, oh, it's only me. That's I don't know.
And then we had him come on our show.
He did, and
Put
then
us,
you.
no, hold on. You put us. He put us in shit. Because we had him on the show and he says, yeah, I agree with you, Shady. I'm with you. What?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
He speaks for himself.
But we were thrown under the bus.
Facts.
Not even hearing the Bandido side of the story. And you claim I'm biased. I didn't say it on air. Yeah, I'm with you. No, I'm not with you.
I didn't say that either.
He did.
That was you guys.
So why wouldn't I shut him up? Why would I just let him keep talking when he comes out and says, I'm with you? And it turns out this dude was shady as fuck. Hardcore.
Well, all I'm saying is this. When you're doing it live, you don't have the, you don't have the nets and everything of taping it and wondering. You're just trying to get to the story to see what's going on. You're going by eyewitness testimony, which is what I said. That picture was given to him by somebody.
Who was the eyewitness testimony from?
He had somebody that was there.
Okay. Who?
So I don't know the guy's name, but he was there. Trust me.
How am I going to trust you if I don't know who?
I don't know who was there. He had somebody that was there. I'm not going to give his source away. He had a source that was there because he had information right away. And he was talking to him.
The information was wrong.
Some of it was, but some of it was right in his defense. You can't just say everything was wrong because it wasn't. It's not
what
true.
Was right?
I just told you that. We're rehashing everything here. He had the ambulance story right.
Because you know what? You're taking one thing. We don't even know if the ambulance driver was said like that. The guy was lying about his numbers, everything. He lied about his past.
How do you know? Where are you getting this information?
What do you mean, where am I getting? His Facebook was full of people giving the freaking G sign and stuff like that.
I thought you were talking about VPS. You're confusing me at this point.
I'm taking Shady right now.
Yeah.
And he was playing both sides of the aisle.
Well, listen, man, when you have a guest on and they're answering your questions, you can't be the lie detector. You have to take them for face value. And what we did,
I do not take them for face value. I ask the tough questions.
Okay, but he could still lie to you. So you can ask all the tough questions you want, but you can still get lied to.
Then you go back and find out the truth.
And we did. And now we've come full circle.
Yeah, we come full circle. Whatever.
It's wild.
Well, I do know. I remembered looking at the Facebook page and then going back to see it. I even tried to find it in the time machine. And I guess Facebook pages might not be in the time machine. I don't know. But I do recall that picture, the heading picture, appeared to have a lot more than 7 people to me. I recall that. I don't know how many there were, but it seemed like a lot more than 7. That's what I remember from that Facebook page. That's where I got my first initial pictures from. So I don't know. It seems kind of crazy.
That it is. Damn, what was that? Well, that was a good debate. Anyway, Mike, we appreciate you being the producer. How did you like it, man?
Hey, man, it was fun. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. That's it. Much love and respect to everybody.
What about you, Black Dragon, with your Damelon Falcons shirt on?
This is my woman's team, and she buys my clothes, so this is what I have to wear. For me, it would be a Dallas Cowboys t-shirt, my bro. So there.
You drink Bud Light too, don't you?
No, I don't drink at all.
That and Budweiser.
If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you must drink Bud Light. No, actually, hold on a second here. What was that? Quayne, yeah, I am done with it. I don't, you know what? This is the wrap up and stuff. I don't care who gets butthurt and shit like that. Go ahead, Marco.
No, just a good debate. And
you wear a Chicago Bears shirt, I hope.
Who, me? No, I don't.
No,
damn.
You're Green Bay, right?
No, hell no. I'm from Maryland. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm unfortunately a Commanders fan. I hate the Cowboys. So when Black Dragon said that, I lost consciousness.
I thought you were a freaking Redskin fan.
Yeah, well, I am. That their new name is the Commanders, so we've been commanded to call them because people don't like the other one. But yeah, exactly. Well, that's the problem with the world today. So no, good debate. I'm glad we had a few different sides in the story. Actually, I was really happy to put AJ on and get another side of Omen, because I know a lot of people were reaching out to me through my TikTok channel because obviously we're talking about this, and again, I mean, there's families involved, and so it was really good to humanize that part of it, because I think we lose a lot of that in this world where we see these shootings and we know people died, and we rarely get to see the side of somebody that's a giving person. And you heard, was talking to his brother every day. Had even helping with the pet adoptions, and a father and a brother. So it was good to put a human face on that. And I really appreciate AJ talking to us tonight, because I think that's a great thing that we can do.
Right. Fast Eddie, if you're a journalist, you should ask the tough questions, and if they lie to you, then you confront him about the lie right then. Basically, we learned how to do a new, different type of show right here, going a lot more professional, if you ask me, and getting the tough questions off. But anyway, Monday.
And Mike Ball, you did a good job, man, on running the boards. Mike Ball is the new producer back there. We all have producers now, and Mike Ball,
Mike should have been.
Although
Mike
he
did awesome.
my channel way before you got him, I just want to say. But he's helped me out a hell of a lot more than you. So there. But anyway,
I do want to leave you with some. I do want to leave you with something to think about. Some sad news right here. Keep these families in your prayers right now, but we'll see you next Monday.
A crash involving multiple motorcycles in Lawrence County. Police say the crash happened on Highway 39 between Aurora and Mount Vernon. Liam Garrity is here in studio and was at this scene. What can you tell us, Liam?
Elizabeth, the crash happened right on Highway 39, right here on our screen. It was just south of Highway P. 10 motorcyclists ended up being involved in the violent crash. Police had to shut down this part of the highway down here for a couple hours to get ambulances and medical helicopters to the scene. Police tell me the driver who caused the crash was arrested for suspicion of impairment. This is seconds before the deadly crash. Sergeant Mike McClure with the Missouri State Highway Patrol says a car passed the center line.
Upon impact, the 5 motorcycles, kind of in sequence, ejected their riders, went off the right side of the road.
4 motorcyclists now dead. He says the driver of the car may have been impaired.
That impairment was observable.
Those who died, a 17-year-old girl, 28-year-old Cameron Hale, 59-year-old James Olmsted, and 61-year-old Linda Anderson. According to the Highway Patrol crash report, 10 motorcyclists were involved, either hit by the car or in the aftermath of the crash. Every person in the crash is from Aurora.
Motorcyclists have every right and every reason to be operating as does a passenger car or a pickup.
6 of the riders were taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The driver of the car also seriously hurt. They were sent to hospitals by air and ambulances. Sergeant McClure says we are in the 100 deadliest days of summer, so everyone needs to be aware.
We have to adapt to what we're seeing when it comes to these summer months, because we got more traffic. Motorcyclists are more prevalent. So it's a shared responsibility.
Sergeant McClure says to never drive